Hi, everybody. Welcome to this panel. I hope it will be interesting for you. And I will just briefly present my panelists today and what are we going to discuss. As I was announced, my name is Sanja Rizanovic. I work for UNDP in Serbia, mostly on projects related to open data in the digital innovations portfolio. Today with my panelists, we're going to discuss about the importance of open data, why is it important to publish open data, and how this ecosystem looks in Serbia when we started in 2016, 2017, and until today, what have we achieved and what can we expect to see in the future. Today with me I have Andreja Glusevic. She's my very dear colleague. She works for the Office for IT and E-Government as the Open Data Coordinator, and she's a passionate open data enthusiast. And I believe that through her answers, you will see that she's the right person to talk to about open data in this state. I also have Mihailo Gajic. He's a president of the Libertarian Club Verbic, which is an educational and research center dedicated to nurturing the ideas and values of individual freedom and responsibility. But Mihailo will actually talk about why is it important to have data-driven policy and decision-making, and do we actually have that or no in this state. And I have Srdjan Verbic. He's a professor at PEFA faculty. He's a physicist and he has a PhD in AI, and we also worked a lot on open data in Serbia starting from the beginning of this initiative. So Srdjan participated in most of our activities and helped open data initiative in this country. We will start with the first round of questions. And discuss a little bit about the benefits of publishing open data and why is actually publishing open data important, and what are the possible challenges which come with that process, and actually challenges that we faced in the beginning of our initiative and up until now. Maybe Andreja, you can start first because your position as the Office for IT and Government, I believe you have a lot to say.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Andreja Glusevic, as Sanja said. Thank you for your announcement. It was lovely. The question is, what are the benefits and what are the challenges? We were talking before this panel, and I said to Sanja, well, I don't want to talk about challenges. I want to rename it and put it back into the previous state and talk about problems. About the benefits, you all know what are the benefits of open data and how great open data is when there is a quantity, and when everything is done in regular time, and that is amazing. But the challenges or the problems that we are facing are that most of the institutions, they don't see the value of the data. They're starting to see the value of the data. Some of them do, but some of them don't. And those who don't, they put a data set on the portal and they think that's it. You put one data set and you're done. So we have a lot of one-hit wonders on the portal, and we need a lot of data that is up to date and that has a good quality. That is the first challenge that we have, the quality of data and the regular update of the data. Also, we are facing the challenge, the problem of what data should be there, because you can put a lot of data that nobody use, but when nobody is using data, that is a set of ones and zeros that is there and it's just using the space. So the second challenge that we have is the challenge of what data should be on the open data portal. And the third challenge or the problem that we have is in the time of communication, we don't communicate. We have all the channels for communication and we don't talk with each other about with NGOs, what data do they want, what can we provide? And it's a two-way street. It's not, oh, the government doesn't want to put that data on, but you don't ask for the data. So please help us. You need to help us to provide you some data, because we don't know. We can't be in each head and know what is the data that you need. So we need a lot of communication. So please, let's communicate. If somebody of you is interested in some kind of data set, I'm always willing to give you my number, and you can call me. This is the one-stop shop. You can call me whenever. I'm working all the time. So if you're interested in, I can do this publicly, but it's not a problem. We can do it. So I always give my number. So if you're interested, my number is +381 664 92 66606. And if you need to open some data and you need data, call me, and we will try to do everything to open that data. So don't tell me that we're not open for cooperation. Please do call me. We need communication, and we need all the channels of communication so the data can be open. And open data needs open people. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. I didn't actually expect that number sharing happens so soon in the session. It usually comes at the end, but yeah. Icebreaker. Okay. Yeah. So the same question goes to Mihailo and Srdjan. So the challenges and benefits in the process of publishing open data. So Mihailo, what do you think? What is the main benefit? What is the challenge?
Okay, so basically, since this question is the same, I guess Srdjan will just build upon the things that I'm going to mention here. We don't have enough time to go into specific details, so that's good to have an additional set of eyes that is going to shed some more light on this topic. I think that among the problems, to actually call things their proper name, is the quality of the data, the scope of the data that is being processed, and so on. For example, I'll give you some examples from Serbia and from abroad. I don't believe that I'm an economist by training and profession, so I'm mostly leaning towards the economic data. And I don't believe that any trained economist in Serbia really believes in the data that are provided by the state statistics office here, because we've caught them in several instances where they basically had to, tweak the data a bit in order for it to serve the official narrative by the government that is being put into the media. So basically, I believe that most people do not really believe in the at least numbers on the unemployment and the GDP deflator and things like that. That might sound very technical, but the repercussions of these numbers can actually have significant consequences down the aisle. For example, when we talk about the situation economic in the country, what is the GDP growth, and so on. That's one of the problems. So political instances that actually tweak the data in order to serve up a certain political narrative. The second example is coming from China and Russia. When the Russian invasion of Ukraine started, Russian Statistical Office basically stopped producing a massive sets of economic data in order to serve its war purposes. For example, not being able for other countries and researchers to actually see what is the real situation in the Russian economy, and if would Russia be able to finance their war chests in the future. The similar situation is China. Since 2012, where we have, let's say, a new more conservative oligarchy put in power in China, basically stopped producing massive load of data sets. Instead of producing more than 300,000 data sets per year, mostly on a monthly basis, the Chinese Statistical Office started producing less than half of that and publishing it. So basically, you see that political influence can have lots of impact on what the data is being made to the public and what is the quality of the data. And also, we should, as additional problem is, if these data that are being produced, because in some instances we do have lots of interesting data sets that are being put into the public sphere. The problem is this data, even if it's properly gathered and published, is this data meaningful in any way? For example, there are lots of data sets that when you actually open them on the own open government portal in Serbia, you don't actually get any value added out of it because of the way how this data is aggregated. They're not granular enough so you can actually use them for any kind of a meaningful possibility of reusing them and making some kind of insights out of them. I think these are the most important problems that we see today in Serbia and the countries in the region, and we should focus more on that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mihailo, very much. And Srdjan, do you have anything to add to what?
Sure. But since we don't have time, I will take just one aspect, and that is the learning aspect of open data. So what I see as one of the greatest benefits from open data is to learn how to do with data, what it is, why do we need it for, and how to handle data, to raise awareness, etc. So in order to create some data-driven economy or society that is basing major decisions on the available data in order to introduce transparency, you need one very important exercise, and that exercise is open data. So if you fail to produce open data, that's the image, that's the picture of the society. So if you don't have enough people, you don't have capacity in municipalities, in government, to produce every month exactly the same data set, but with different data, but the structure is the same. If you don't have capacity for that, well, you don't have capacity for anything data-driven after that. So I think that opening data is very important for people who are employed in public service. They have to standardize data, to clean it, to make it interoperable, to have that data culture, to publish regularly, every month, every 7 days. So that is what we need, that kind of practice, some kind of exercise to demonstrate that we know the value of data and that we know how to do it. Everything else comes later. So you cannot build in countries that are late with opening data. So we are late. So we were not in that first wave. We cannot create economy based on open data. So most of applications already exist, and we are just users of that. We don't have market for new applications. So what we can do is to do capacity building. And that is what the open data is excellent for.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And just before we move on to the next question, just to add one more layer, which nobody mentioned, which is, I think, really important, coming to the core of the democratic processes and the accountability and trust in the government. I think that's really important. We last week, Andreja and I were in Denmark, and they mentioned one number which was really, really high of how much the people actually trust the government and the state. And I think that open data is part of that package. Is the government accountable, transparent, and if the data is there and of course we've done all the exercise right, then that's really important ingredient.
And can I add one more thing just regarding opening data on a local level? It's really important because that is the basis for the smart cities. They're sitting on so much data, they don't need sensors, IoT, and everything. They're sitting on the data that is preconditioned for the smart city. And that is a huge potential on a local level.
Yeah. Thank you, Andreja. So coming to the second round of the questions, when we say open data, I think that most people just want to see what is the reuse example, because people think of can actually think of something if you show them example. So do I use it? It's usually when I try to explain what I do, I just simply say the name of some application. So yeah, you have it in your phone. Yeah, you know what is open data. So can you maybe tell me your personal favorite examples of open data reuse, which are really good show off of practice of open data use for public good? Maybe I start with Srdjan because you were last in the previous round.
Unfortunately, I don't have a favorite application. So I think that all applications that we have, not in Serbia, but in Europe, are just for demonstrational purposes. So you show that you can do something, you put it on the website, you are using it in communication, but actually no one is using it every day. So I don't think that that we have so many good examples. So the best examples are those that that we can use for learning purposes. So you can do something with data in order to learn about data. But when you see, for instance, at European data portal, you have a list of good examples. And well, I have tried many of them. They are dead links. The first one is from transparency of something in Moldavia. That is the first one, the top example. And what I see there is some advertising for some casino. So it is, they don't own that link anymore, URL. So I don't think that we have many good examples in application, in sphere of applications. But if we speak about in terms of providing data, well, we have. Well, for instance, that the Ministry of Interiors and they are publishing about data about traffic accidents. That's excellent. So you can expect all the time new data, and it is standardized. So you don't have to look at data at all. So the data set, always the same. So you can create some software, you can have an API, and just you can automatize whatever you do. For instance, visualization. So in terms of providing, we have good examples, but I don't think we have many so good applications.
Okay, and Andreja, because Srdjan said something, and I saw you looking the example of the everyday use, but do we actually have something which is I think really
Google
important
Transit.
and helping our citizens?
It is not so open. Okay, really? Is it? So I don't see it on the portal. So
yeah, GTFS, the new GTFS will be there, the new, and will be refreshed every day.
Can you,
Yeah,
Andreja? Can you?
I will tell you the story.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's the learning purpose. So I learned that it is updated every day.
Okay. Well, my favorite example is the example that I'm living, and it is Google Transit or GTFS. That is the standard from Google for the transit data. So far in Serbia, we have 6 cities with Google Transit data. And I don't know how many of you are from Belgrade. Can the people from Belgrade, did you use the Google for the transit data? Did you ever use Google to go from the point A to the point B?
For public transportation.
Well, one day, maybe you saw that there is no data on there. Try now. So the data is back, and everybody thinks that data magically happens there. And I want, because I was talking about the problem, first time when we did it, it was great. Then people used to it because it's there. It's data that they're using all the time, but you have to provide that data. And then one day it magically disappeared. So we spent 2 months telling to Google that we are who we are and proving who we are, so we can get our username and password back, so we can provide the new data. So I spent 2 months with a guy from India, talking to him and sending him an enormous amount of love letters and proving that we are Belgrade and that we want to provide our data and give them. And as you know, when you provide the data for the first time, you have to go through validation of the data. We did that for the first time. Now they said, oh, somebody erased all the data, and the previous guys that did the application Apex did that. They deleted, and that it was the first time in Google history that somebody deleted the data from the Google. And because of that, we went through the process of validation of the data for the second time all over again. So a lot of working and love letters with a guy from India, and now the data is there. So the new data set is there, and we will provide that data every 24 hours on the portal, open data portal. That is from the next week. So from the next week, every 24 hours, the new data set will be available regarding GTFS. And that is a good news, because that is a standardized quality data. That is my...
Yeah, really good
Everyday
example,
use thing.
and everyday use, yeah. Okay, Mihailo, can you?
Well, since maybe half of the people in the audience are locals, the other half are probably just here for the conference. You came to a certain period of the year where the air quality in Belgrade goes down very, very steeply because of the problems regarding the heating. So today's the air is not that bad, but we wait for December or January, and we'll talk about that. So one of the good, I guess, at least in my opinion, ways of using data is several apps that actually provide you with the quality of air in Belgrade on a real-time basis. So basically, you know if the air quality is acceptable or not for your activities. For example, according to that, you will know if it is a good time for you to go for a run if you like jogging. Should you go maybe jogging in a park on the other side of the city because the quality of air there currently is much better than in your neighborhood? Or you should stay at home and do some exercise in your apartment or house. So I think that's one of the good ways of how those magically appearing data on the net can actually be used in order to increase our quality of life. And of course, data can be used in other possible ways. One is, for example, is an app that provides you with information in what pharmacy stores you can find a certain drug that might be something difficult to find. For example, during the coronavirus pandemic, there was a shortage of a certain anticoagulant called Faxiparin. If you had heart problems, like a member from my family did, you needed to get that drug in order to not necessarily survive, but to increase the quality of your life and lesser the possibility of having a heart attack. So finding that drug, which was very hard to do in Belgrade, was made much easier by using an app which basically was able to pinpoint drugstores in the city where you will be able to find that drug, instead of just losing 2 or 3 days going from pharmacy to pharmacy and not being able to find any dosage.
Yeah, that's also a really good example, and I'm really glad that you mentioned the air quality, because we have done something which was really interesting. We had a cooperation with the Internet Society of Serbia and with the Belgrade Open School, and actually implemented one citizen science project where we called citizens to apply to build their own measurement station for the air quality and put it on their balconies and share data with others about the air quality in their neighborhood. And why is that important? Because the Serbian Agency for Environmental Protection, they of course have the professional sensors and stations for measuring air quality, but of course they cannot cover such small micro neighborhoods. So if you don't have a station nearby, you cannot know if the air quality is good for you to go out or no. And that kind of citizen science data, which is shared among the community, is a good add-on to official data. Of course, it's not an idea to compete with official data because those sensors are not the same, but cannot be a nice add-on to the official data and maybe show the decision makers, in this case, the Serbian Environmental Protection Agency, where they need to put their next station in order to provide the public with enough data and information about the air quality. So that network, of course, existed before. We supported them in one phase, and they moved on and grow their network of citizens sharing the data. But it's a really good example, and actually in this the time of the year, or each year, it's really important. And
let me add you just a couple of information on the air quality topic. For example, when you take a look at the new part of Belgrade, which is Novi Beograd Zem municipalities, they have something like 350,000 inhabitants, and they have only 2 official sites for measuring air quality, which is almost impossible to know what the quality of air is, because there are several macro locations. Air quality also depends on the amount of traffic that goes through your neighborhood and the possibility of wind to gush through those big tunnels that we created by building skyscrapers in narrow streets. And the second thing is that basically I live 100 meters away from the national agency for environment, and they have their own measuring station in my neighborhood. The problem is they do not measure suspended particles, PM10 and PM2.5, which are actually the biggest polluters in my neighborhood. So you have the official network of measurements, but it doesn't do anything good. So.
Yeah. So I think that that's where citizen science can help a lot. Okay, so we're coming to our final round of questions, and in this round of questions, I have separate questions for each of you, just to show your expertise and go a little bit into the details. So I will start with you, Andreja, because the Office for IT has done a lot from the beginning of the initiative. We have a policy framework for open data portal, open data working group, support to the community, trainings of the public officials, training for the other stakeholders. But for me, the new waves of policy framework coming from the EU, which is obviously not mandatory for us because we are not a EU member, but would you say that our policy framework now in Serbia is good enough? Does it work for the open data publication and use, and what is the current situation with the EU framework, which shows what can actually and what needs to be done in the future with our framework?
Well, the first thing, framework for the open data is regulated by the 3 articles, Article 25, 26, and 27. And Article 27 on the law on EU government says everybody should open the data, but that is the first line. The second line is the catchy line. It's if you don't have people to do it, and if it costs, then you don't do it. And people will say, we don't have money, we don't have people, so there is nothing. So we need to change that. We need to change that, so we should use the eraser tool and erase the second line, and everybody must open data, and most of the informational systems should be open by design, and that is the thing that we need to do. And also and there is no way to stay like this, because this is not sustainable. If nobody's opening the data, that is not good. So we have to change that, and I think in the next few years we have to do it. And we have to have like the second level. If you don't open the data, there are some consequences. But I think don't do just with the pressure. but do it with a good example and show there is a value in the data, and everybody will be interested in opening the data. For example, on the local level, for years we were like, you should open your data because it's a transparency, is this. No, open the data because you want to see your own data and you want to analyze your own data. And that's the reason why we did some Power BI for the local level, to show them the power of the data so they can see the reports in the Power BI. That is the first thing. The second thing, for the first time, Europe is seeing that they need to regulate things, and we now have this high-value data sets, and the list of high-value data sets and the formats and the granulation of the data prescribed by European Union. Since we are not in European Union, we're not obliged to open to do it like that, but we were doing it through the other channels. So through some measures for the OGP, we are opening the data, environmental data, in the format that is prescribed by European Union, and we will do that for the environmental data. And I think that is a great thing to do, to start with that kind of data. In Serbia, even though we are not obliged to do it because we are not part of European Union. One other thing that is really important, European Union is seeing that it's not just the open data that needs standardization. Also, the closed data needs to be standardized and organized, and that is another set of gloves that we need to talk about in future. Also, not just about the open data, but also on the closed data.
Yeah, but they also have the Data Governance Act, which is a really hot topic right now, and interesting in terms of data sharing. Can you maybe just add because for me, it's interesting that they're actually seeing an important opportunity for the users to use data which is not open, but closed and coming either from the private sector or the state through the trust channels which can be provided and guaranteed. So that's something which is really new.
Yeah,
and
that is new, but for us, that is
far away.
I know,
but
I think that we should focus firstly on changing the framework and doing the small steps. For instance, opening the data regarding environmental data regarding in standards that is prescribed by European Union as a high-value data set.
And there is also in our policy the question of complaint in terms of when you actually want to seek data through the request, you don't have an institution which is in charge for the complaint. Like you have for the Freedom of Information Act, you can make a complaint.
Yeah, but also Article 25 is perfect. That is the power of the people. Article 25 is the power of the people that we don't use. And that is, you can ask for the data in machine-readable way. And we have a guy that did that and asked for the data and got the data in machine-readable way.
Yes, but you probably know that people are actually discouraged if they cannot complain to anybody if the institution doesn't give you the data. So yeah,
there is a whole story about 7 brothers, and if they're together, you can't break them. But if you do it with each of them, you can break each of them. So we need a community. That's it. If everybody is asking for the data and they're covered with a laws of asking for the data will be open. So,
okay, yes.
Passive aggression.
Okay, so now a question for you, Srdjan. AI is a really hot topic, a lot of things happening, and Serbia is in that race. Even though a small country, we actually put a lot of effort into our AI policy framework and doing some projects even in the state level. So in terms of open data for the public, for the AI in public sector.
Okay, so what we need are 2 things. We need human capacity and we need better data. So better means the data sets that attract attention, so that people want to look at them every day for different reasons with different applications. For instance, the most popular data set and at the portal of Open Data Portal of New York, for years already, it is a job announcement data set. So whenever you have a new job advertising, it is put in as a new text in on certain place on the portal, and you have thousands of job advertisings every day, and people want to look at it. It doesn't matter how, on the website, through some application. So you can create something out of this data. So it is a juicy data, but we don't have so many data sets at this moment. So if you want to invent something new, some new application, something that is not seen, well, we have only dry data, so it is not possible at the moment. The other thing is that the very essence of AI, that is automation. So if you want to automate something, you need people who know their jobs and they do it well already. AI could help to make it faster, to scale it up, to assist you in many different ways. But firstly, you need people who are doing great job in public administration, so we can replicate it and allow some computer to use this data and to scale it up. But at this moment, it is very difficult. For instance, so you have queues in health centers in Belgrade. So can you arrange anything to make it better, to allow these people to get on the schedule earlier? No, you can't, because you don't have good practice, existing good practice. So automation of something that is not good practice does not allow introduction of artificial intelligence. So we need to recognize some cues where people are standing, and because of lack of capacity to process everything, we need support from AI. So that is where we can introduce artificial intelligence. But if we don't have such good practice, which is slow just because of only a few people are working there, we cannot create something in area of artificial intelligence. But anyway, we have good examples at this moment with image recognition, with natural language processing, which is very challenging. It is not problematic. It's just challenging with Srdjan. So if you want to do something with cases and genders, etc., so you cannot apply some other software. But in this area, well, we are making huge steps, and I don't think that we support those inventive people with enough and good quality data.
Yes, because if you want to do something good, you have to put good data in it. If the data is bad, then garbage in, garbage out. Yeah, okay. And finally, question for you, Mihailo. How can open data be used for public policy?
Well, thank you. First of all, I think that we need to start using data for public policy, and then open data is just a cherry on the cake, and we have problems with the cake itself. So the thing is that we are still at the inception of using data in formulating controlling and updating public policy. Even though we have a set up framework that actually envisages the public sector and civil administration to use data in formulating public policy. The problems is that you don't have enough human capacities to do so. So the number of people who are working on this issue is very small, and their internal capacities regarding their knowledge on data manipulation and similar technical issues is also very scant. So the problem is still there. The civil administration does have a lot of data that is created through their work, and they sometimes to smaller on a greater extent can use that in formulating public policy, but without that data being made public through Open Data Portal, for example, other people in the public policy arena, NGOs, watchdogs, international organizations, World Bank, IMF, other development agencies, etc., cannot help in formulating public policy and cannot actually pinpoint which are good policies that would have beneficial outcome, or which are those that are ineffective, that basically won't have the envisaged outcome or might even have the unintended consequences that nobody talked about. For example, we have the use of AI recently in trying to work on the number of people that get social benefits. It is very hard to get social benefits in Serbia, and the pecuniary amounts that are going towards public program is very low compared to other European countries. And basically, when we decided to use artificial intelligence in order to comb through this list of recipients and maybe take out people who have two or more possible ways of receiving the social benefits, we actually ended up with several thousand people losing the social benefits they did have a legal possibility to get. So the problem was the way how the artificial intelligence was used in order to go through the data set. So that's one of the possibilities that we have, actually not solving solutions, but creating more problems by use of technology. So I think we're still at the inception of using data, any kind of data, in formulating public policies, and then even trying to see if the public policy is, through monitoring, evaluation, and reaching is set out goals or not. So we need first to make that first step and then talk about, let's say, those more advanced steps like using open data by other actors in the policy arena in order to influence public policy.
Yes, it's what you said about sharing data for other stakeholders. I think it is really important because it actually creates an equal opportunity for everybody who want to participate in that process to have the same opportunity as the state. Because if the state only has the data and the others cannot access the data, then they don't have the same amount of information and knowledge to participate in the process.
Yeah, let me give you an example to just close off my speech. Is basically that we have lots of differing opinions on whether the Serbian government should finance a certain investment project, let's say regarding infrastructure, what would be the final price of it, what would be the benefits of it, etc. There is a certain department within the Ministry of Finance that creates social cost and benefits analysis for each of those infrastructure projects that are envisaged to be built. And even if they made those analysis made public, then we would be able to be in the same arena and basically then criticize or not the proposed infrastructure that is going to be built, maybe regarding what would be the real financing, what is the investment rate that is used, what is the discount rate used, etc., which is more small technical problems. But basically, since we do not have any kind of data published in public sphere, that we basically just have to believe the politicians on their word that this is going to be a boon for the whole public.
Yes. Thank you for that input. And we are coming to what I mentioned in the beginning: the democratization and trust in the process. That's really important, and open data plays a really important role in that process. So I believe we have maybe a couple of minutes for the questions from the audience. So if you have any question for the panelists, please. Yeah, there's a question over there, yeah.
Thank you, Dražen Drašković from University of Belgrade. We talk, I think, 5 or 6 years on this conference about open data in Serbia, but at our state portal, it's a very small number of available public data sets. Can you tell me how to increase data sets, how to force state and state institutions to open more data for research, for we like to learn students about knowledge about data and importance of open data.
Is that a question for Andreja, I believe?
Yeah, for Andreja, for Srdjan.
Well, in Serbia, open data is a cardio work, a lot of walking. So you have to show them the power. Firstly, they will open data if they see the power in the data. So it's totally some kind of twist in the game, you know. The first thing that I do the Power BIs based on data, then I show the power, then we open the data. but the thing is, we need more people. We need a lot of people. We were in Denmark last week, and I asked them, "Oh well, how many people is working in France for open data portal?" And they said 12. Do you know how many people work in Serbia? So that we need a force of people, and we need promotion of the data, and we need a new legal framework, because if there is nothing afterward, if you don't open the data, nobody will bother. And we need something as put that into the law. So every informational system should be open by design. So you don't have to ask for data. It's by design, the data is there.
It's something called political will.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Don't kill the messenger.
Okay, do we have any more questions? No?
That's it.
I believe not. Okay, so we heard a lot of interesting things today, and we don't have any more time, but I want to thank my panelists for this interesting discussion, and see you soon at some other occasion to talk about open data. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you,
thank you
Sanja.
very much.
Thank you everybody for coming.
This is a little certificate of appreciation.